So, Pit Bike Veterans, race number 1. Mark Davies has his second pole position of the day, this time with James Mostiker alongside him for company. Steve Booth will be third on the grid with the points leader in the Veterans, Richard Rice, starting 4th. Julian Gromit will start from 5th. He's second in the point standings at the moment, and Andy Williams is alongside him on row 3. Pete Forsyth and Steve Allen make up row 4 of the grid, with Joseph O'Neill and Jim Titchmarsh rounding out row 5 and the top 10. Gary Carter will start this one from 11th, and he's the last of the riders who set a time in qualifying. Hugh Jones, who starts 12th, Simon Lancaster, who starts 13th, Martin Cockayne, who starts 14th, and Craig Bradley, who starts 15th, all didn't set a time. So the first interesting point is, have they managed to make it to the grid for the start of this one, or have they been sidelined through some form of mechanical issue? And the second thing is, if they have made it to the grid, what's their pace going to be like coming from the back? Either way, you can see Mark Davies on pole. Flag's already in the air and it drops. It's another good start from grid 2, this time for James Mostiker, but Mark Davies has had experience of that already today and holds on to it through the first chicane. It looks so far like a clean getaway, I'm delighted to say, and indeed it is, as they weave their way out of chicane 2 and head down towards 3. And they come back up the circuit here, and not for the first time. It looks like Mark Davies is going to lead at the end of an opening lap. I think that makes it his 4th time today, even though we're in only race 4 of the day, given the stoppages that we had earlier in the stock 160s. Mark Davies leads, James Mostiker 2nd, Richard Rice is 3rd, 4th for Steve Booth, Andy Williams is in 5th, Julian Gromit 6th, 7th is Gary Carter, Pete Forsyth is 8th, 9th is Steve Allen, Joseph O'Neill is 10th, and then Jim Titchmarsh is 11th. So only the 11 riders in this one. Mark Davies has a bit of breathing space here. Close battle though between Richard Rice and Steve Booth here, going through 3 onto the return part of the lap. You can see Richard Rice on the 46 with the black helmet, and then Steve Booth behind him on the 86 with the red cross on his helmet, on the top of his helmet. That's the distinctive thing there. And has he got a run here over the finish line and into the double right-hander? He's thinking about it, has a look, but it's not on there. Richard Rice manages to hold him off. Fantastic racing though. Crossing the start-finish line again into chicane 1. I thought we were going to see our first overtake of the day into the double right-hander there. Actually, I'm imagining we did see a few further back in some of the other classes. It's so difficult to follow all of the action here. Julian Gromit, for example, has just got past Andy Williams on that last lap, and Steve Allen has got past Pete Forsyth. That's for 8th place. So battles aplenty throughout the field here in the Gloucester Bike Specialist Pit Bike Veterans class. And again, you can see Steve Booth has good speed here. This time he tried around the outside. Richard Rice going defensive there, but it's not on there. What about into chicane 1? It's so difficult to set up the manoeuvre here, but oh my goodness, that's really close. Steve Booth getting his front wheel alongside the rear of Richard Rice. And do not forget, this is of some importance ultimately within the championship here, because Steve Booth is 3rd in the championship, Richard Rice is 1st. So these two of our key players in this class this season in the British mini bikes. And another good run out of that right-hander for Steve Booth. It looks on for him this time, and he swoops through into 3rd place. Lovely move for Steve Booth. Does Richard Rice have any response? I'm not sure he's going to. Booth has been strong through this part of the lap. So really nice move there by Steve Booth, and he gets himself up into 3rd place ahead of championship leader Richard Rice. Meanwhile at the front, by the way, Mark Davies managing to hold a 1.4 second gap to James Mostiker at the moment. Pretty even on pace. Here they are, working their way into 4, and you can see already Steve Booth has pulled out a bit of a gap on Richard Rice. So obviously at the moment the pace with Steve Booth. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get onto the back of James Mostiker. Still 8 laps remaining, bear in mind. What's going on behind this top 4? Well, Julian Gromit there Second in the point standing in this class, currently in 5th. He's a bit out quiet on his own at the moment. He's 4.5 seconds back from Richard Rice and 2 seconds ahead of Andy Williams in 6th. Pete Forsyth currently runs in 7th. Again, he's a bit out in the wilderness, gap behind him and in front of him. Steve Allen, though, just got past Gary Carter on the last time around, and Jim Titchmarsh is right with them as well. So that's a nice little battle over 8th place. And Joseph O'Neill, actually, he's part of the party as well, so it's a 4-bike battle at the back of this one. So racing throughout the field. Which is fantastic to see, but also pretty standard here in the British mini bikes. I don't want to blow our own trumpet too much, but there you can see on screen Gary Carter, Jim Titchmarsh, and oh, who's that at the side? Is that Mark Davies? It is Mark Davies. Mark Davies is at the side of the road. Race leader is off at the side, just past the start line. Drama here at the front of the field. You'll see him just as they blast through the shot. There he is off to rider's right. Mark Davies is stationary, and that's race run for him. He will not take the win here. And James Mostica gets to the head of the field. Oh, that's devastating for Mark Davies. He sits looking rather forlorn, as well he might, on the tyre barrier at the side there. Huge disappointment for him. As ever in motorsport, his demise is somebody else's opportunity, and James Mostica now is at the front with some 3.7 seconds of cushion back to Steve Booth in 2nd place. And there's 6 laps to go of this one. So James Mostica, you can see him there on shot. Here he is, your race leader in orange overalls. And just going over the start line now and into chicane 1 is our leader. And heading to chicane 2. He has, I can see visually out the window, got quite a gap to Steve Booth, who in turn has pulled out quite a gap to Richard Rice. So there's quite spread out now amongst the top riders. Mostica, though, at the bottom of the circuit, will now going into 4 and 5. Here he is on your screens. So here's your new race leader as of a lap and a half ago, James Mostica. Now I'm just going to check. I don't think Mostica's had a win this year. Certainly not in this class. So if he could hold on here, this would be a first for the season for Mostica. How's the pace of Steve Booth? It's pretty similar, to be honest. So just as there's another rider there at the side of the road out of chicane 2. We'll keep an eye on timing for who that is. Looks like it's Pete Forsyth. Pete Forsyth is out on the side of the road. So another rider out there. He is. Oh, he's got underway again. We'll have to wait and see if he gets up to full race speed or if that's just a recovery to a pit lane situation. It's a disappointment for him as well. 3 laps to go. You just saw our leader Mostica, and then Steve Booth came through shot. There's Steve Booth now. You can see the gap that he's pulled out on Richard Rice after the battle they had earlier on. There is Richard Rice, and then behind him is Julian Gromit. Now that's actually one of the smaller gaps on track at the moment. Actually the closest gap on track is between Jim Titchmarsh on the 88 and Joseph O'Neill on the 74. That's the battle over 7th place. And we've got 2 laps left to run here. Actually, it's more like 1.5 now because Mostica, I can't keep up with the pace of this guy. He's already on his way back up. I say back up the hill. It is a very, very flat circuit, this one. But I still think of it at the top of the circuit where all the paddock area is. Pete Forsyth shakes his head on his bike as he comes past me here. We're looking here at that's the battle between Jim Titchmarsh and Joseph O'Neill. That's the closest battle at the moment on track. Pete Forsyth shakes his head, as I say, as he goes past me here. He's clearly not happy with something with his bike after we saw him at the side of the road earlier on. We're on the last lap. James Mostiker, who's heading towards chicane 2 now, has a little bit of traffic to deal with. Still on screen looking at the battle, as far as I'm aware, over 7th place. But Mostiker, our leader, is heading into the final few corners now. So 4 and 5. And the checkered flag waves, and there was Mostiker in his orange overalls. There he is. Mostiker takes the win. Steve Booth, pending disaster indeed, he takes the 2nd place. Richard Rice is in 3rd. Julian Gromit was catching up to the back of Richard Rice there. He finished just behind him in 4th. We almost, a couple more laps and we'd have got a fascinating battle between 1st and 2nd in the point standings. Andy Williams finishes 5th, 6th for Steve Allen. Joseph O'Neill finally gets the bragging rights by the looks of it over Jim Titchmarsh after a battle that lasted certainly the latter half of that race. Good battle there towards the back. Gary Carter, oh no, Titchmarsh has got him back as they cross the line. Sorry, they were the last ones. They were yet to cross the line, and Jim Titchmarsh has got back past Joseph O'Neill on timing there. So Titchmarsh in 7th, 8th for Joseph O'Neill, Gary Carter in 9th. Pete Forsyth crosses the line in 10th, but I don't think there were clear issues for him there with his bike. Clearly unhappy towards the end there. And Mark Davies, our former leader, classified in last place. So right, final race then for the pit bike veterans. It's going to be Lydd's most prolific pole sitter in the mini bikes today. Mark Davies will start this one from pole. James Mostiker alongside Steve Booth, and Richard Rice will start from row 2. Julian Gromit will start from 5th with Andy Williams alongside him on row 3. Pete Forsyth, who led a fantastic battle over, I believe it was 5th place in the race earlier today, he'll start 7th. Steve Allen alongside Joseph O'Neill start 9th with Jim Titchmarsh rounding out the top 10. Gary Carter, I believe, had some dramas earlier on. He starts 11th. Hugh Jones starts from 12th. Simon Lancaster will start this one from 13th. Martin Cockayne, who's had several race wins this year in this class, don't forget, starts 14th. And then Craig Bradley will start this one from 15th place. We'll just respond to some of the comments here on Facebook. Just like to be clear on the previous race, in the comment we've just put up, that because we had some issues with timing, it was harder for the cameras to pick up what was happening further back in the race. So granted, we did focus quite a bit on the junior SM65s in that one rather than the 140s. So we're going to look for the start of this one in the pit bike veterans. Can Mark Davies get the start he needs? Or will James Mostiker get another good start from 2nd place? He does get another good start from 2nd place, but it is going to be enough. I was about to say I don't think he's done it, but he has. James Mostiker to the front of this one, and already Mark Davies, he must be getting tired of this now. He's under pressure immediately from Steve Booth and Richard Rice, who have held on there off the 2nd row of the grid. Mark Davies must feel like he's been defending for the last hour or so. And Steve Booth gets up the inside of turn 4. That's a beautiful move. Haven't seen too many overtakes there. So really nice move for Steve Booth, and Booth up to 2nd place. So at the end of that first lap, it's James Mostiker, Steve Booth, Mark Davies, Richard Rice, Pete Forsyth, Julian Gromit, Andy Williams, Gary Carter, Steve Allen, Joseph O'Neill and Jim Titchmarsh. So we have had some of our riders not take to the start of this one. We've got 11 bikes out there. But now Steve Booth is on the tail of James Mostiker. And this is already looking like it might be a tasty battle for the lead here. James Mostiker, of course, your winner in race 1 in this class. But Steve Booth is determined to deny him the second win as they come round to complete lap 2. Look over the shoulder from Mostiker, and I'm not too surprised he is, because Booth has got some pace on him here. And Steve Booth, there's a sense of inevitability that he's going to try and move here. Richard Rice is in third. And I'm just trying to see whether I can spot Mark Davies, because he's dropped to 7th place. Something happened to Mark Davies on that last lap, because it's now Julian Gromit in 4th, Pete Forsyth in 5th and Andy Williams in 6th. So change of plenty during the top 10 there. James Mostiker still under pressure here from Steve Booth over the lead of this one. Booth is looking for the opportunity. Had a bit of overspeed there heading towards the first chicane, but wasn't on there. And if anything, Richard Rice is catching up to the back of this to make it a 3-bike battle for the lead of the race. But is Booth not going to hang around? He's got tries up the inside of 3. Oh, it was a good look there. One of the best attempts I think we've seen through turn 3 today. He has already done an overtake into 4, has Steve Booth, but it wasn't on that time. Got past Mark Davies there earlier on the first lap. Mark Davies has had some significant drama. He's at the bat now, and I think that maybe race run for Mark Davies. So our former pole sitter, he's not going away empty-handed. He has had a race win today. But I'm sure he would have liked to have finished the day on a high. We've got to keep our eye, though, at the front here. It's turning into a 3-bike battle. James Mostiker, Steve Booth, and Richard Rice. And Julian Gromit running strongly in 4th place as well, should these top 3 start to hold each other up. Mark Davies now shown as an official retirement, so he will take no further part. And now they're all at nose to tail here. Attention just diverted there. There's somebody off at pit entry. Yellow flags out here, so there'll be no changes of position during this. And yes, indeed, we've got a rider off there and down on the ground. And the red flag being shown. Medical team on the scene and have been for quite a while. Quick response as ever. And I'm happy to say that the rider in question is up and pushing their bike away. So we'll be hoping to get this one restarted soon. I will try and get it confirmed to who it is. We're further in than 2 laps, so this won't be a full restart when it gets underway. And didn't see anything of what led to the incident. Bike and rider both recovered now, but the track vehicle's still, the course car is still in place on the double right-hander. And Gary Carter, I believe, is your rider off to the side there, just waiting for the field to pass him by. Ah yes, they're being stopped here by Alan Lord, who's going to tell them what order they get to start in. So, yeah, understandably, James Mostica will take the pole. And this is what I'm talking about. Mostica's been having storming starts from second on the grid, and now he has to do the exact opposite and defend from pole position. So can Steve Booth do what other riders have been doing as he lines up second on the grid? Where the grip is, you can almost see actually the rubber. You can see the rubber that's down on that side of the grid, the grip that's laid down there by it being the racing line. Richard Rice is third, Julian Gromit. Going to be interesting to see how Gromit goes now. Can he buy into that battle that was a 3-bike battle at the start, at the red flag? On this restart, he's right with them. Can he keep with them? In fact, can the others? Pete Forsyth, Andy Williams, they're all there. This could be a good one. I think we've knocked a couple of laps off to stay to time. Green flag in the air, engine notes rise. And we're away. Steve Booth does get a good start, but I think Mostica's going to hold on. And it's battle resumed at the front of this one. But Julian Gromit's been overtaken, I think, by Pete Forsyth, but he's going to try and get him back again, and indeed he does. So it's James Mostica, Steve Booth, Richard Rice, and then Julian Gromit. Can he stay on terms with these top three? They are trying to break away. And coming around to finish this first lap since the restart. Mostica, Booth, Rice, Gromit, Pete Forsyth, Andy Williams. Gary Carter has got past Jim Titchmarsh and Steve Allen on that one. I'm just checking at the back. Has Joseph O'Neill taken the restart? I think he has. Well done, that man. Picking yourself off and getting on with it. But Steve Booth now challenging for the lead down at the bottom of the track. And has he got the job done? No, he hasn't. But here they are. Mostica having to go defensive here against Steve Booth. Richard Rice right with them here as well. The points leader in this class so far this year. As they come across the line, we've seen so many overtakes into the double right-hander today. Is there going to be one here? Richard Rice goes to the inside, but it's not on for him here. It's still nose to tail as they come out of that one and head towards chicane 1. Richard Rice tries to get a run into chicane 2 on Steve Booth, but it's not on there. And incredibly, given all of the possible opportunities, it's as you were. And there is Gromit in the white helmet and overalls in fourth place. 4 laps remaining, as you can see now on timing. And Steve Booth is all over the back of James Mostica like a rash at the moment. He will take any opportunity going. Will he get a run here? Mostica's tended to be quite good down here, but to the inside goes Booth. He has a look, but he just can't get his wheel on the inside. And Mostica holds on for now. Once again, into the first of the chicanes here. Lovely change of direction from these bikes here at this high-paced Lydd circuit in the south of Kent. Joseph O'Neill has got past Gary Carter. Oh, who's that? Oh, is that him, though? That looks... Who's that off at the back? Is that Jim Titchmarsh we just saw rolling his bike away? Drama for one of our riders. Another retirement, perhaps. Yellow flags out at that part of the lap, which is down the bottom of the circuit. Does Booth have a run on Mostica this time? He has got more speed. Can he get up the inside? No, it's just not enough. And he's got to be careful, you know, because Richard Rice is right ready to take him. And indeed, Richard Rice tries up the inside, side by side into chicane 1, but Booth manages to hold on. Brilliant battling amongst the top 3 here, but Mostica's just got a bit of breathing space as a result of that particular skirmish. 2 laps to go here. Can James Mostica hold on to take his second win of the day? We're on the last lap now. Oh, and down goes Steve Booth in the double right-hander. Booth is down. Dramatic way to go out from this. And we did we see how this set up? There's Mostica, and just behind him, it's just looks like a standard Low side of the bike just gets away from him, and down goes Steve Booth. He's back underway again, so there'll be no stoppage, but disappointment for Booth, and it's going to promote Richard Rice up. But Julian Gromit is being shown as second on timing, and he is. So round the last corner comes James Mostiker. He takes the win. He's chuffed, and who can blame him? But coming second, it is going to be Julian Gromit. So what happened to Richard Rice? He's now going to cross the line. Oh my goodness, this is close. Pete Forsyth takes third at the line by 61 thousandths from Richard Rice. Andy Williams is 55 thousandths behind him. So they are basically side by side. Steve Allen finishes 6th. Steve Booth in the end finishes 7th. And then Joseph O'Neill, who went down and caused a red flag, finishes a very impressive 8th. Gary Carter finishes 9th. And both Jim Titchmarsh and Mark Davies had issues which led to them not finishing the race. Well, in all of the drama that happened to Steve Booth, we didn't see what happened to Richard Rice, but clearly he got held up by that incident or had some kind of drama. It allowed the likes of Julian Gromit, Pete Forsyth and Andy Williams all to catch up to him, and it was all change at the end there. Wowee, plenty of entertainment here in the Stock Bike Veterans.